Wanted to bring you up to date on what I know and maybe lend a little bit of context to the 49ers having Christian McCaffrey listed on the official practice participation report on Thursday. Of course, something that caught everybody outside of the building by surprise, very much myself included, because throughout the day on Thursday, really did not get a sense that anything was wrong with Christian McCaffrey. And, I watched him during the pre-practice warmups, and he was running with, quickness and explosion, and basically he looked like Christian McCaffrey. So certainly at the beginning of practice, no indication whatsoever anything was wrong. We'll find out more about this on Friday when Kyle Shanahan speaks with the media and provides the 49ers injury status report for Sunday's game against Seattle. But at that point, the 49ers either don't have any designation on a player as far as a practice or a playing status update. The NFL has done away with the probable. So now it's just questionable, doubtful, and out. So, I would suspect that Christian McCaffrey would be listed as questionable for this game against the Seattle Seahawks, but we'll see later today. Now, like I said, did not have any indication that anything was wrong. I'll tell you what the first clue was a little bit later, but I am now, as with Greg Papa being out of action as he focuses on his health. I did the sit-down interview with Kyle Shanahan on 49ers game plan. So I think that airs Friday night. And then we posted on the 49ers Talk podcast Saturday morning. But yeah, talk about something that didn't age very well. I did during the conversation with Kyle Shanahan, which takes place right after he comes off the practice field on Thursday. I asked him a couple of questions about the usage of Christian McCaffrey and running back Brian Robinson. And so one of the questions I said was, I prefaced it by saying Christian McCaffrey is healthy. Well, obviously at that point, I had no idea that something, we don't know exactly what occurred on the practice field that made it so that the 49ers felt inclined to list Christian McCaffrey as not healthy, as a limited participant in this practice. But I asked Shanahan, I truly, honestly don't think that Shanahan knew what was going on with McCaffrey. I get the sense that he wasn't updated on any status with McCaffrey because, like I said, he just came in off the practice field. And so when I asked about how the 49ers plan to use Brian Robinson, number 3, coming over from the Washington Commanders in that trade, he said that they'll have to figure it out as they go. But they felt like it was important to get somebody like Brian, who has NFL experience. He's been a starter with Washington. And he said, obviously they want McCaffrey out there on the field. He described him as one of the best, if not the best running back in the NFL and the best running back in the passing game. But the 49ers love that they have Brian Robinson as the number 2 back, supplanting Isaac Grindo in that role. But what the 49ers, obviously want is Christian McCaffrey to play a lot, but they don't want him out there too long. They want to be able to keep him fresh through the course of a game and through the course of the season. And so what Shanahan said on the show was basically the first week, this was the first full week with Brian Robinson on the team, their first real practices. And so they're just kind of figuring out how to utilize him, what best fits him with this offense. And then he has to understand, or he has to get a grasp of the offense, not only the run game, but the pass game, and maybe more importantly, blitz pickup and pass protection from that position. It's always something that running backs, a lot of times that's what keeps running backs off the field, is not being buttoned up with pass protection. So what I even asked a question to Shanahan about, having Christian McCaffrey healthy in 2023 and then not having him last year and now getting him back, that's got to feel really good. And he did say that, you always have to prepare for everything. You try not to get too excited or too low about anything, that things can change. So maybe that was an indication that Shanahan knew that something was up with McCaffrey at that point. Now, I guess you could say in retrospect that the first clue for me in the media that things weren't right with McCaffrey is that, there are basically five superstars on the team who have weekly schedules as far as when they speak to the media. Trent Williams is a Hall of Famer, but he's just kind of always at his locker. He's available pretty much any day that the locker room is available to the media. But Nick Bosa generally is the first person at his locker on Wednesday when the locker room opens. Wednesday is the first practice day of an NFL week. Bosa's always at his locker first. Everybody goes to him. So he knocks out his media responsibilities on Wednesday. A little bit later in the open locker room session, Fred Warner comes in. He stands at his locker and he speaks to the media. Then on Thursday, it's generally Kittle and McCaffrey. Their lockers are close to each other. And then it kind of concludes with Brock Purdy at the lectern in the 49ers auditorium, and he does his press conference, and that's it for Thursday. And then Friday is kind of a catch as catch can. And so I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to not seeing McCaffrey in the locker room, because it's also not uncommon for a guy like Kittle or McCaffrey to say, hey, I'll talk to you guys on Friday. But I did not see McCaffrey at all. And on this day, practice ended at 2:40, and my interview with Shanahan was roughly 2:45, maybe a little bit later. And then I was kind of waiting around the 49ers facility. I didn't want to hit the road to go up to San Francisco to our studio where I was doing, I was on with the Xfinity Sports Sunday show, obviously on Thursday night after the NBC game, Eagles and the Cowboys. So I was kind of waiting around there to see the 49ers official status report, the official practice participation report. And that's when it came through at 4:45 that McCaffrey was limited in practice with what was described as a calf condition. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but I can kind of read into it. Generally speaking, on a Thursday, if the 49ers are off the practice field at 2:40, like they were on Thursday, generally speaking, that practice report is sent out around 3. There's a pretty quick turnaround. Now, with this situation with McCaffrey, I'm assuming that the holdup of more than 2 hours was, or right around 2 hours, was because of just maybe determining exactly what McCaffrey's situation was. So I don't get the sense, and I didn't get the sense, and what I mean by that is maybe there was some discussion of, is his situation with the calf, is it serious enough, or does it rise to the level of including it on the practice report? I mean, quite clearly, the 49ers knew that the moment they put Christian McCaffrey's name on the injury report with the description of a calf, it was going to send up, alarms, not only in the Bay Area, but across the country, with fantasy football being so prevalent as it is. So my first sense is that there was no panic in the 49ers organization as far as what this means for McCaffrey. But I say that, and I want to tread very lightly, because we are talking about a calf injury. And we are talking about a player who a year ago, heading into week 1, was listed as questionable against the New York Jets with a calf injury. And there was a lot of suggestions as that week went on that McCaffrey would suit up and play against the New York Jets on Monday Night Football. Now, we all know what happened was that 90 minutes before kickoff, the 49ers, somewhat surprisingly, had him listed as one of their inactive players for the game. And then after that, the 49ers decided to place him on injured reserve, which shut him down for 4 weeks. So meaning he was eligible to return, week 5 of the season. Actually eligible to return week 6 of the season because he missed the first game. IR is 4 games, and then week 6. And then that calf injury, as it was listed, ended up turning into an Achilles injury. And that's how it was listed. And I think it was like late September. So at some point, news got out that McCaffrey went to Germany to seek treatment on the Achilles. And then, it was revealed that it wasn't just one Achilles, it was both Achilles, a situation where one was acting up on him and then maybe overcompensating, and that led to the other Achilles situation. So again, you always, as a reporter, always try to find that right balance of, what you're being told or what you're hearing or what you believe to be true, and then how it kind of evolves over time. But the sense was on Thursday that it wasn't something of, where panic was setting throughout the organization. However, because it's Christian McCaffrey and because it's a calf injury, of course there's going to be concern. How does that translate to how the 49ers decide to proceed with this? We'll find out. But as of this moment right now, when I'm talking to you on Friday morning, I don't know. I have zero idea what can be expected for him. Will he be out on the practice field on Friday? I would doubt it. Will he be available for the game? That remains to be seen. How will the 49ers list him on the injury report? Again, I would think questionable, but do I know that for sure? No. So that's something to keep an eye on today. And will the 49ers make Christian McCaffrey, or will Christian McCaffrey make himself available to the media a little bit later in the day? So those are all things I'll be watching. But again, like the 49ers game plan show, I know a lot of people will be like, how can you call him healthy when he was on the injury report? Just, yeah, I mean, I wish I could have that back as far as how I worded it, but I had no idea because honestly, from the time that he was recovered from the knee injury that he sustained in Buffalo, all the reports, everything, and I could see it with my own eyes. Heck, I saw it with my own eyes at the beginning of practice on Thursday. Was it Christian McCaffrey looked like Christian McCaffrey? He looked healthy. He looked like his old self. And so something happened during practice on Thursday that changed that to the point where, as the 49ers reported, they're required to report this by NFL rule. They listed him as limited in practice with a calf injury. So what it means right now is very much open, for speculation, but also I think another key element of this is you often hear teams talk about, a player who might sustain something in a practice one day. A lot of it is, how does he feel the next day? And maybe even more to the point, the first time he gets back out there and works out and runs some routes or does whatever, takes a few handoffs, how does he feel the day after that? So all that is certainly concerning. Anytime, like I mentioned, anytime Christian McCaffrey now has an injury designation, especially to his lower leg, cause for concern. So that's what I got for you on this Friday, and there will certainly be an update later in the day. So thanks for watching, and that is it for now.